Hello there and welcome to Saw Bench Show number 2. I'm finally getting around to making that saw bench I've been talking about. Now in the first episode I showed you the basic features of this saw bench, and here's a little model I made. It looks pretty traditional, a couple different things. The legs are splayed here as usual. The legs on the front here meet at right angles to the top, and that's so my saw doesn't hit it as I'm sawing. So that's one difference. The other thing is that the joinery up here is a little bit different. I'm using a rising dovetail, and I showed you that as well. Here's another one. Looks like a regular dovetail here, but the top is dovetailed. And the only way to put it together is by cutting a socket and a slope on the back. And then it rises and slides forward into position. It's a very unusual way of joining things. So that's going to be fun, and that's what we're going to be doing next on this show. Also, I'm going to be using mortise and tenon joints on the rest of the base, and they will be wedged, so that'll be fun later on. So anyway, let's get started. Last time also we were doing some preparation of the stock. I planed the top nice and flat and straight. And since that time, I've thickness planed it on a thickness planer, and also finished up the edges with a joiner. So it's a hybrid approach. I have used power tools and hand tools to get everything prepared. These boards are all ready to go too. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is to mark these lines right here. I'll show you. This line here and this line here. So I'm going to be using my marking gauge right here, and that's already set. You can use whatever marking gauge is your favorite. I like these wheel gauges. This is a tight mark. Set for 1 inch. So here we go. And I have little pencil marks here so I know where I'm going. It's the one. And my second one is back here. You see that? Mm-hmm. And that's that one there. And then I need a corresponding mark on my legs. This will be the tail portion. Same setting. And I'll make the same mark on my second leg later on just to save time. So let's see. I've got that marked. I've got that marked. Now the next thing I want to do is mark the spacing of my dovetail here. That's from here to here. And to do that, I'm using my dividers. Here we go. And I'm going to put little pin pricks here to show me where they begin and end. One there, and one there, and also I mark the other one. One there, and one there. Tiny little pin pricks. So that's that, and then I also need one on my tail. Mark that as well. One there. And one there. Okay. So the next step is to put these slopes on. This one here, and again the corresponding slope on my tail. So I'm going to use my bevel gauge. This is a old Stanley 18. I really like this thing. Has a very good positive locking feature on here, and that's important with a bevel gauge. And I have this set for 1 and 2. That's the slope here. And that's a pretty drastic slope, but that will result in about a 1 and 6 down here. Now, how did I calculate that? I did a little trial and error on scrap wood. Got that dimension for me, so you'll have to do the same. But okay, let's mark them. Pencil. Okay. There we go. There's that one. Where's that little prick? Right there. There's that one. See? Mm-hmm. And then we do the same thing over here. And of course, once again, corresponding marks on my tail. And there's that. And I'll mark the other leg as well. Just to save time, I'll do that off camera. So, and I'm going to mark the waist here because I don't want to saw on the wrong line, wrong side of the line. There's that. Okay, now the next step is to mark the underside where this socket ends. Now this is where it starts to get complicated. You see that slope here? Mm. That slope is 1 and 4. That's what makes it a rising dovetail. So that means that this socket has to start back further, greater back set than the one on top. Now how much further back? Well, the slope is 1 and 4, so for every 4 units we go this way, it has to go 1 unit this way. So if I take 1/4 of the thickness and add it to this dimension here, which is 1 inch, that will give me my back set for a 1 and 4 slope. Now I know that's very confusing, and it will take time for that to sink in. But trust me, if I could figure that out, so could you. Just take your time and think about it. So anyway, here is another tight mark, another wheel gauge that is set for my back set. Okay. What I need to do now is transfer this mark to the bottom.
Which mark?
This mark here, all the way to the bottom. And the only way to do that accurately, or the best way to do that accurately, is the way I'm going to be showing you right now. You could use a regular square. I'm using a saddle square. A friend of mine lent this to me. And this will help me transfer the marks across the top, across the face, and across the bottom in perfect registration. So around you go. See it there? Okay. Now I'll hold this up so you can see it, because this is getting a little hard to see. So my saddle square transferred the line to the edge and then across the face. Mm-hmm. And now what I'm going to do is transfer it the rest of the way, like that. Okay, all the way across the bottom. So now this point here is in perfect registration. Let me just highlight that other back set line that I scribed in there. See that? Mm-hmm. So that is perfectly registered with the one on the top. And then what I do is I have to transfer this slope to my bottom as well. So okay, now you can see I've got this laid out. I have the bottom laid out, same slope. This will be the waist. And now the only thing left for me to do is transfer these lines here to here and here to there to give me this dimension here. There's that one. So there is my dovetail. Then what I shall do is copy this using my other bevel gauge here, right here. And what I want to do is get that exact So now that slope matches that slope perfectly. Okay, now I've reset one of my marking gauges for the thickness of the top, and I'm going to use that to set my gauge line for the leg. Are you still with me, all 5 of you? Okay, here we go. There's that mark there. That's my gauge line for that. Okay, so that's my gauge line for the thickness of the board. Then my back set line is going to be measured from the face. And that's still set from before. Now all I have to do is connect those lines. So anyway, that was a lot to take in one session, but hang in there with me. We're getting there. The next step is going to be sawing these out, and that gets even trickier. So hang in with me, and we'll be back in just a second. Okay, we're back, and we're ready to make our saw cuts. You can see here in my spare time, I couldn't resist. I went ahead and made the saw cuts and chops and paring for the first leg, And now that we have a little more time and our camera's back, we're going to do the second leg. And you can see here, I've knifed some of the cut lines and also notched with a chisel some of the cut lines, the ones you'll see, just to make them a little bit sharper. And over here, on the leg, I've made some kerfs here. And I made a cut in the back just to speed up the process there. So we're ready for our first cut. Now check this out. This is a Bad Axe 14-inch sash saw. I went out to the Bad Axe Tool Works in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and I took their 2-day saw sharpening seminar, and I came home with this saw. I filed it myself, I set the teeth myself, and Mark Harrell, that would be Mr. Bad Axe himself, helped me put this together using what he calls battle-scarred parts. Those are parts that were scratched or, for whatever reason, not suitable for his premium line of saws, but perfectly suitable for their purpose. And for a substantial discount, I wound up taking this home. So it's a filed hybrid, and it's going to be just perfect for this project. So, if we're ready, we'll make the first cut. Are we ready, Jonine?
We are, yes.
Okay. She's always ready. I'm the one that takes the time. Okay, now we're going to work on the top. We have to cut out the socket for our dovetail, going down these lines here, and following the lines on the bottom here and on the top over here. Okay, we cut our slopes, and I added 3 relief cuts because now we're going to be chopping, and that's going to make chopping a lot easier. So here we go. Well, that was a whole lot of pairing going on there, believe me. A lot of trial and error, but I got it, and I can show you here. Put together. It's a little tight right now, but it goes together. And that's about as tight as I want it to be right now. We'll fine-tune that just before the glue up, but I think that's good for now. So anyway, this one fits also. Take my word for it, it fits. And next time, what we'll be doing is working on our splayed legs, and they're going in to mortises, which will be cut on an angle as well, so and a tenon. So that'll be kind of fun to do and frustrating as well, I'm sure, at some point. So anyway, thanks for stopping by, and see you next time.
Wasn't that great?